1,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
As I speak, there are many different empty basketball courts right now. And there are a lot of people who are without jobs and a lot of companies that are losing money. So what is the cause for these empty stadiums, for people losing jobs, and for this money that's being lost? And that is the NBA lockout, the 2011 lockout. What is the lockout, you may ask? It's a conflict between the NBA owners and the players concerning money. And the lockouts establish the rules that happen throughout the whole NBA. And during the lockout, players cannot trade, they cannot sign contracts, they cannot contact players, they cannot access NBA team facilities, trainers, or staff. Now, this is not the first lockout that has happened in the NBA. Actually, this 2011 lockout is the fourth lockout that has gone on in the NBA. But we're going to take a look at the previous lockout, what happened in 1998 through 1999. So during that lockout, there was a total of 32 cancellations that happened through those games. And there was a deal that was eventually reached with that lockout, and it was a 6-year contract that was accepted. And then in 2005, there was another 6-year contract that was accepted, and that led up into 2011, in which caused the beginning problems of this current 2011 lockout that we're in now. And the contract expired in June 2011, and the players' unions and the players got together to start negotiation with a new contract, and they started that in January 2011. So what causes this lockout? There are many different several reasons for why it causes a lockout, but majority is about money. The NBA owners were losing a great deal of money in the NBA, and an average player was making around $5 million. And Post Sports states that a player receives 57% of all NBA-related income. NBA owners, according to BettingBasketball.com, says that the NBA as a whole lost over $300 million per year over the last several years. And 70% of the teams in the last year has lost money, which is the reason why the owners wanted to reduce the players' share in revenue, and they wanted to put a cap on how much each player can get that's on each team. So the NBA Player Union, which is like the association of all the players, they got together and they didn't like the idea of what the owners and what they were trying to do. So they disputed that, what the owners had said, but they did agree to bring in that 57% down to 54.3%, and they agreed to that. But they didn't like the idea of them putting a salary cap on the money that they make. So on August 31st and September 13th, the owners and the players, they got together, and as you can see, this is the lockouts. But the owners and the players, they had these conferences, and they got together, and they talked to each other, trying to like negotiate what kind of plans that they can get together. But they didn't agree on anything, and that was around September 13th. So since then, the owners offered a 50-50 split in profits with the players, and they changed the conditions of the team's base salary cap. So the remaining of the preseason games were canceled, and on October the 4th and October the 10th, the first 2 weeks of the season were also canceled. So who does this lockout affect, or who are the people that are affected by the lockout? The first people that are affected, the first group of people, are of course the NBA players. Now you have some of the players that, since they don't have a job right now, they're able to go through endorsements, such as like doing commercials for McDonald's or Nike and those kind of things. So some of those players make money that way. Or some of the players are skilled enough where they're able to go over to Europe and play ball over there. But there are some players, unfortunately, they're not like the high player status, so they don't get these endorsements, or they're not able to go over to Europe, so they're suffering over here because like some of them don't have college degrees, so they have to go back to basic work, such as Deontay West, who's a player. I know he started working for FedEx, like shipping boxes, because I mean they're in the lockout. There's nothing else they can do. They can't play ball, so they have to look for work somewhere else. And also, the fans are affected by the lockout, and the fans is where a majority of the money comes in. The fans, we as the fans, we buy all the merchandise and everything, so they're very affected by the lockout. And also, TV stations such as TNT and TBS, they play most of the games, so now they have to resort to playing reruns on TV, and a lot of commercial companies are losing commercials because the games are not playing, so they're losing all that airtime. And also, businesses, local businesses, and major businesses are also losing a great deal of money. And in Cleveland, WO10 reports that 35% of downtown restaurants' annual revenue comes from the NBA games. And Portland says that if they don't have any Trailblazer games, that's going to translate to a $59 million hit. And they're going to lose $59 million because the Portland Trailblazers won't play this year. And Oklahoma City claims that they'll lose $60 million if Kevin Durant doesn't play this year. And Tony Parker, who plays for the Spurs, that they'll lose a total of $90 million in the business of San Antonio and those areas, which attribute to the basketball. So in conclusion, as of now, all preseason games have been canceled, and the first 4 weeks of the 2011 and 2012 season have already been canceled. The lockout will remain in effect until the National Basketball Players Association reaches the deal with the NBA and NBA players and the NBA owners. So we don't even know if the lockout will even end this year. The players will be able to even play this year. So that's the lockout in 2011. Any questions?
So you said that all the businesses, I know a lot of people are losing money,
right,
because of no revenue is going to be generated from, even from the concession stands up to the owners. But is it like across the board from city to city, like the East Coast versus the West Coast? Have you did any type of comparison? You know, if I know they don't have jobs here, but
right.
And with you said the one person, Durant, who did not have an education, is that the one who had?
No, he didn't.
Well, the one who didn't have a job, didn't get a job. You know, are they able to go to the other area, that from the East Coast to the West Coast, and maybe that may have, you know, just for right now while they're still in talks?
Yeah, to play ball, or
to play ball, or I mean, to either just to get jobs. I see right now there looks like just people from across different teams. They're not on the same team.
They're on different teams.
So they're all on different teams. So I know you said earlier that they couldn't talk to one another. They're not supposed to negotiate with each other, right? Did you say that? So can they just go to other areas and work? I'm like, if the East Coast more affected, well, basically, is the East Coast more affected than the West Coast?
I think they're all pretty much affected on the same level. Now, if you're talking about not the players being affected and the areas being affected, such, like I said, Portland's a really small area, so they really like rely on basketball. So they really rely on like the money coming in. Right. But versus Houston, like we're a greater, bigger area, so we're not going to take as great as big hit as somebody like as Portland would take. Right. So if we're talking about like on that standpoint, then I guess it depends on like how big your city is and how small your city is.
I have a question. Okay, you were saying they were not allowed to play anywhere else, but they can go overseas.
Yeah, they can play in Europe, but they just can't play here. It's like they can't train. They're not allowed back in the stadiums. They can't see the trainers. It's similar to what happened to the NFL lockout, but that one ended. Like they weren't able to practice until all of it was over. So it's kind of sad.
Well, I guess my question would be for those persons who didn't have a formal education, have you looked into additional skills? Or are they looking at, vocational training and things like that to enhance them, since they don't know if they're going to be able to play basketball or not? You know what I'm saying? Because you said Delonte West went back to FedEx.
Right.
The other people who probably have not had an opportunity to do anything because they were counting on basketball. So my question would be, are they looking in terms of, broadening their horizons by additional formal education is the question.
I'm not completely sure they are. I mean, I would if I was a basketball player, but I think it really helps the people that are coming into basketball, or like the guys in college. They really see how important it is for them to have their education, because I mean, anything can happen. Like, they didn't know this lockout was going to happen. So I think it's really important for the upcoming basketball stars to actually graduate college and get a degree, and so they won't be like trying to, well, what should I do since I don't have an education? Because I mean, it's kind of hard to go back, and then they don't want to start going back to school and be like, oh, okay, I can start playing basketball now. So they're probably trying to like just wait it out and see what's going to happen.
Or an injury, because they don't think about that.
Right, they don't think about injuries or anything. So if I were a basketball player, I'd make sure I graduate college first, or at least have a degree.
Something to fall back on.
And you should also show them also, that when you are making the money, to better utilize it and invest it, not just spend, because you never know what could happen,
Some of them don't know how to control their money.
Exactly. Okay,
I have a
great.
question. You got your